Welcome back, friends, to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Forged in Eternum community Q&A for October 2023. So we've got Dave, Scott, and Katie here. In the Q&A videos, they usually just sit down in front of the camera and answer questions from the community. So anything from like, will we see a reduction in the amount of PvP rewards tracks to get certain artifacts? What artifacts might we see in the future? When are we going to get the artifact life staff? I'm hoping we're going to see some questions like that and answers to those subsequent questions. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and play the video. If you guys want to check out the original, I'll put a link to it in the description down below. Let's do this.
Can we get a caster weapon that shoots bees? Thanks, I like bees.
I'm curious, like this person must have like a camera in our office because like we've been talking about this feature for so long. It's like, it's literally at the top of our feature list.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell. I think Scott's being sarcastic there, but you know, he might not be. Maybe there is going to be like a blowpipe weapon that actually shoots bees. I think like a lot of people want to see the next weapon is like dual wield daggers and like a trident. We need like a lightning based weapon as well. We don't have any weapons that do lightning, or actually we do have arcane. We do have the flail now, but we need a lightning weapon. Maybe lightning bees.
Hey everybody, welcome to the October Forged in Eternum, where we do community Q&A.
I'm going to take up the captions for you guys because the captions will probably be like auto-generated on the YouTube video anyway. So I'll take those off and then you can put them on if you want. It's probably a better way to do it.
I'm here with Dave and Katie and Lovin, and we are going to get started. So bring those fun questions on.
First, I gotta ask, whose birthday is it today?
I don't know. Happy birthday, Katie K.
Happy birthday, Katie.
Thanks, everybody.
Don't be so excited.
Yeah, she didn't seem very excited.
There's no more whispering at the beginning of these. Everybody's in timeout.
Okay, well now that we have that context, let's go into the other questions.
Can't believe Chuck didn't sing, just saying. He's back in the back.
Can we expect new artifacts in Heartrune
Here we go.
In upcoming events?
That was the thing we said.
Well, good news here. We will definitely be introducing more artifacts each season. We'll be tying them to new content.
To the season pass.
Heart runes, as we've discussed in the past, we are going to slow down on those. I think we've sort of hit critical mass there, and I don't think we're going to have them sort of come out every season anymore.
So to extrapolate on that, that basically means the next season we have coming is season 4, which if I'm not mistaken is set to come out on December 10th. So new artifacts on December 10th. I assume there's going to be a few in the season pass and then maybe one from the new dungeon. So if there's 2 in the season pass, like there was this time around, then we could have like the ice gauntlet and the bow, and then maybe the life staff from the new dungeon. So that would actually mean that we have all like artifacts for all weapons. Fingers crossed. I don't know. It might not work that way.
All right. Well, when will the transfers open up so I can go play with my friends who just came back?
Yeah. So we review the active users on those populated worlds every day, and we're watching to see when that reduces, when we can open those up. So I can't give you an exact time, but I can say that's something that we're watching very closely, and those will open up as soon as there's space. I do want to call out that just because it shows that it hasn't reached the max like population cap on the world, that does not mean that that world is not full. As I've mentioned before in other updates or other videos, Nysa is one of those worlds where for a really long time it wasn't showing its population cap, but its active user base was 2 times every other world. And what we saw was we had to lock that world far in advance because it had long queues.
That's because Nysa or Nisa is like the PvP logger, war logger central of New World on EU. So I think like there's a lot of people that have like 2 or 3 accounts on there so they can rotate between them for wars. So there's actually like technically a lot of players logging in, but it's just like the same player 3 times because of the war system.
So we're trying to avoid that with these other worlds. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll let you know when they're opening up.
All right. Any plans to rework or remove the debuff resilience on mutations 2 or 3, reducing mutation levels and removing Ward's Banes, then artificially adding difficulty to a 5-man encounter by requiring certain builds for weekend Ren pretty much puts us back to square one for gear checks, and it removes a cool debuff exclusive to the Sandworm, which works a lot better since there's 20 people to work with. The bosses and mutations also have a base empowered level, so they're already still extremely dangerous, even if you hit this theoretical weekend cap after resilience is taken into account.
Now, before they answer, I do want to say that I like the idea that Mutation Difficulty 3 is difficult. It's supposed to be difficult, and I kind of like that. It's still clearable, but if you want to have an easier time, you can just do M1 or M2. I don't think there's really any reason to do M3 other than to just get higher gear score. Like the artifacts, for example, all drop from M1 or M2 or M3. There's no better chance, so I don't think they need to nerf it. I think it's good that there is some challenging PvE, but we'll see what the devs have to say.
Can you repeat that?
It's a fair question. I think overall, no immediate change is planned. We've been taking a look at the data. M2 mutations have a very high win rate. I think we're seeing people do them pretty easily. I've pugged a few and made it through pretty easily. Obviously, it's even easier with the company. So I think, no real plans there. No planned changes. Let me try that there. M3 is definitely a bit harder.
Yeah, it's like way harder.
It is intentionally made to be harder. Our goal was that the M3 level would be harder than M10.
Yeah.
We like this mechanism of introducing difficulty versus just increasing health or damage. I think it spurs, diverse builds. It brings in different types of weapons to get the different status effects. So no immediate changes planned, and I think, M3 is going to be something that's going to be harder to do with pugs, and I think that's an understood thing. The good thing is the rewards from M2 get you just about everything that an M3 can in terms of gear score. You can still hit 700.
Yeah.
It's just a different percentage. So I think it's okay that the M3s are very hard.
I have noticed, by the way, that there are rare mounts. They're not even that rare. They seem to drop pretty often, but Starstone had a wolf mount. Dynasty Shipyard this week had a... Is it a... No. Maybe it's Dynasty? There's like a horse mount you can get, Golda. So there are some like exclusive mount skins that you can only get in M3, but they do seem to drop pretty often. That's kind of cool, though. I do like that.
I think you need that difficult content.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Is there a plan of reducing the difficulty of Worm Raid from Season 2, or at least make the Devourer Heart Rune obtainable through other methods?
Now, this one I am a little... I know I was just saying that I want to see the expeditions be difficult, but that's because there's a scaling level. You can do like a normal, hard, and really hard version with M1, M2, and M3. The Sandworm just has one difficulty, and that's it. So I think if there was like a casual version of the Sandworm and a hardcore version, and better rewards, obviously, in the hardcore, or like leaderboards, I don't know, anything like that, I think that would be fair enough. Let's see what the devs have to say anyway.
So no changes to the difficulty planned here. We released it intentionally very hard. And our thinking is that as people sort of perfect their builds, we hit 700 gear score, they set up their artifacts, they sort of optimize, that increase in power for players will allow a wider player base to do the Sandworm.
Yeah, it's going to happen organically.
I think it's going to happen organically. But I do think, we're looking at putting the Heart Rune somewhere else. It won't happen in the short term, but maybe in a season or two that'll come.
The good news is the Heart Rune is pretty bad, by the way. Like it's like if there was a tier list of Heart Runes, the Sandworm is like near the bottom. I don't think it's very good at all. So yeah, it's not like it's a meta Heart Rune by any means. By the way, if you guys do want to see a Sandworm guide, one of the big reasons to do the Sandworm outside of the Heart Rune is you can get 420 dark matter every week by clearing it. So we actually took some time out with the company to set up a company run. We had a few people who had never done it before, and we did manage to kill the Sandworm. So if you guys would like to see a video on how to clear the Sandworm, you will need a group of 20 though. You're going to need some shot calling. It does require quite a bit of effort to make it happen. You can't just get random players together, not currently anyway.
All right. Okay, this one I've seen a lot. When will we get a fix for the tent trolls that people keep posting up over the top of the quest? Makes it very hard to play the game when people are constantly doing it.
There's like a bug with what's his face, right? Jonas or something. You could bug him out.
The term trolls offensive, actually. Not just the term trolls, but the actual trolling is even more offensive. Here's a hint on when we recorded this. Yesterday. It was fixed yesterday and released yesterday, so it's in.
Nice.
Yep. What that guy said.
By the time you watch this, it will be fixed.
Yes.
I just wanted to get
hopefully
one
won't happen again in the future.
So it's a done thing.
It was in the release. It was in the minor that came out on the 17th.
Done deal. Okay.
17th, so they recorded
this on the 18th. Do you have any
18th.
plans to revisit the Sandworm Raid and upscale it to make it relevant again? In Season 4, you're introducing mutated seasonal trials.
This is like a
Would be nice
switcheroo.
to see a mutated elite Sandworm trial as well.
It's an interesting question, especially since the previous one.
Can I just hop in before you answer?
The polarity.
If you ever wonder why we don't listen to your feedback, because everything's about half of the people want it one way, and it's like 49-51 quite often, and this is another one of those examples.
It is a good juxtaposition though, because we often see this where
who do you listen
to? A good percentage of the player base, and we'll call you casuals. You want to take part in these modes, and we totally understand that. But there's also these really dedicated players that want this really difficult content, and so we don't want to leave them out.
Well, I would also like.
That's why having different layers of difficulty would be good. I just want to say.
Not just casuals, because you can play the game a lot and not be as good as other people. And I think, we'll see about that. But I think it's like all play style. We should respect all play styles and try to support them. And it's easy to kind of get like, well, that's what they want, that's what they want. Our job is to try to find that balance. Anyway, so go ahead, Dave.
Wait, and I think we did that with Expeditions, right? When we introduced season 3, we now have what we're calling like the story mode, which is for everybody. So you can take part, and then the mutations are for the harder stuff. So that's an example of us listening to player feedback.
I think the answer is sort of the same as the past question. No plan changes here. I think we think it'll get a little bit easier as people gear up, and then in the far future, we may consider up-leveling this, but that's going to be many seasons from now.
As a streamer of only New World, what, if anything, will you do to anticipate an influx of people for future releases? Queuing for hours before you can play makes it hard to stream at my available time.
New World streamer,
dude. We have this mechanism. So firstly, this was introduced with Brimstone Sands, which was we have a latent character system where if you haven't played the game in over 180 days, you're moved off of your world so that it makes room for the active users, for the active players.
Fair enough.
And that frees up some space, that reduces queues. The other thing that we did at that time was once a world is locked, there's an auto unhide. So if there's no availability or reduced availability in a region, we auto unhide another world. One thing that we did very recently was we tested a button that's on the main menu. So if you're in a queue and you don't want to be in that queue anymore, you can now from the main menu, and this is only during times of, high queues, big population coming back, from the main menu, instead of you having to go into the game to transfer, you can do it from the main menu. You can essentially make yourself latent, and you can then transfer to a world that's available.
You do have to go in and get in a queue and then back out so that the system knows you were in a queue.
Yeah.
But once you do that, the main menu, a button will pop up when we have this active.
Yeah, and we did a test, and once we are ready to roll out that feature completely, we'll have some FAQs around it so players know how
it's good. It's a shame that they didn't have it in for the release of Rise of the Angry Earth, because I know a lot of people were waiting in a queue, especially on like the Marama server and stuff like that. I guess it's better late than never, but fingers crossed we will see a third time, or would it be fourth? Because there was the first time with the release, the second time with Brimstone and Fresh Start, third time with the Rise of the Angry Earth. So yeah, this is the fourth time. If there is a time when New World gets a lot of players again, fingers crossed it will, it'll be working by then, and we will see that fourth time when New World gets a big player spike.
Okay, awesome. Well, can we expect a rework to Magnify?
Please.
The current implementation makes it really bad for
I hate Magnify
builds.
I like the concept of Magnify, but it's so annoying to try and get your stats right with Magnify. I really hope they have a plan. Please tell me you've got a plan, Dave.
Yes, we hear you. I think this is probably the most noticed question.
Yes.
We're hearing this a lot.
Okay, good.
There are no immediate plans to change Magnify.
No.
I think on the positive side, for more casual players, I think Magnify does offer a lot of benefit. It allows you to easily switch between some stats. And if you're not super optimizing, especially if you're not dual statting, it does have a lot of value. Also, like Magnify is one of the opportunities. There's also, you can get more specific gear if you're trying to min-max through the various crafting means and set your specific attributes. So no immediate plans, though we hear you. So we're trying to come up with a solution that still provides some of the benefits to the more general audience that Magnify provides, while also helping out the split stat people. No immediate plans yet, but we're thinking about it.
I like deliberately try and avoid Magnify pieces now because it makes it so hard to like get your stats right. If I want to do like 300 focus, 200 intelligence, 100 con. It's so hard if you have like 3 or more magnify pieces. So I think like what it might even work is just like make it so with magnify you could permanently bake it to 1 stat, so you could have it just be focus and then lock it that way so it never shifts again. Like I wouldn't even mind that if I could just turn my magnify pieces into focus or constitution or intelligence pieces or something like that. I'd be happy with that sacrifice. I would remove the magnify and just have it become like 1 stat, you know, even if it locked it that way forever. That would work for me at least.
Can you share any plans for optimization passes?
Right now, we're not ready to share those, but I can tell you that we have a pretty big initiative that we're going to be sharing with you in a few months.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
All right, well, with new...
Could that be console? Are they going to optimize the game for console? I've thought about it for a while. Maybe you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but they have another MMO, Lord of the Rings MMO, being developed by a similar dev team on a similar game engine. It's the Azoth engine. It's a lot of the New World devs, and they're working on a Lord of the Rings MMO, and they've announced that that's going to be published on both PC and console. So if there's a similar game, you know, with the same devs, same game engine, and that's on console, New World isn't, maybe New World's on console, and optimization for console. Again, I'm probably being crazy here, but maybe. In a couple of months, he said, so yeah, it's basically like end of the year then.
Dungeons, time and time again, will it be possible to test if 3 dungeons available on mutations will be viable? Any plans to add more mutation perks, mixed elemental?
So we have some good news here. I think if you've seen the roadmap, we have cross-world expeditions coming.
Yeah, it's big.
And I think once we have that, we're going to have the larger population pool, and I think we're planning on increasing the mutation count to 3 then, so that people can, especially now with artifacts and mutations,
that's cool.
you can sort of get to them quicker and
3
enjoy
mutations at the same time.
Of mutations.
And we don't currently have plans to adjust the type of mutations, right?
No current plans for that.
Yeah, but that is something that we're continuously looking at to see what opportunities there are and then what actually fits in our development pipelines.
We haven't had a new mutation type in like, I don't know, 18 months. I think the last new mutation we got was the nature mutation, which was a long time ago. I would like to see a lightning mutation. That'd be pretty cool. Or arcane. But yeah, three dungeons at the same time with the cross-server dungeon finder on it. Like, yeah, that sounds really good. Hopefully that's going to make getting the artifacts quite a bit easier, stuff like that.
Can we get a caster weapon that shoots bees?
Bee weapon.
I like bees.
I'm curious, like this person must have like a camera in our office, because like we've been talking about this feature for so long. It's like, it's literally at the top of our feature list. Kidding, of course. No immediate plans, sorry. The bee shooter, while it sounds fun, we do have the beekeeper.
I know, beekeeper is your favorite gear.
I was gonna mention.
But a beekeeper would shoot smoke out or some kind of foggy thing and not bees out of their gun.
Well, it's Eternum.
Think about the bees.
Azoth,
the
you
bees
can do
don't want
whatever.
to be shot out of a gun. That's horrible. Have some.
You talk to the bees?
Have some heart. Care about our little animals, our little insects.
When bees die, do they repopulate on the island?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Eternum, right? Everything comes back.
There aren't any bees. Okay. Well, there's some bees, but...
I mean, there's the bees.
There's honey. There's gotta be bees.
Yeah, I don't want to put
that's
into
true.
a miserable death.
There are the little beehives, that's true. That you gotta smoke.
Okay. I think we're good on this. Let's move forward. What happens if artifact drops in a bag and you are unable to pick it up? Because I have been farming Pugnacious Purutu for 40 hours now, and I cannot get Life Taker. I believe it may be bugged.
I've heard people saying this, yeah.
So the way that it works is if it drops and you don't pick it up, it doesn't count against your loot limit. So you'll still be able to farm it and find it.
Okay.
However, there is a bug right now. So if that happened, if it dropped and then you had a crash, then it did count against it. So that's something that we are currently working on. We'll have a fix out as soon as we can. But that's the only situation in which it would count against your loot limit.
So you gotta, if you crash.
Well, what will you do to address the missing 20 free battle pass levels, fast pass, for people who have maxed the battle pass?
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the time of this filming, that has been, those 20 levels that folks lost have already been provided back to them.
What if you already maxed the battle pass, KT?
if you were already at a high level and you weren't able to benefit from those passes that you purchased, you're going to get another box essentially that you'll use next season. And I think it's going to be called like Season 4, something that's very clear. It'll show up in that compensation area of the game menu.
Okay.
And that will have your 20 levels in it. So you'll get to use it for the next season.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
Awesome. Are there any plans to add more gear set slots?
Right now there are
9 currently.
We recently removed Banes and Wards, and that created a scenario where we think you're going to need a lot less slots, and we didn't want to start messing around with that until we saw some data and watched what the players were saying. So we'll look at it again in a few months, but right now there's no plans.
All right. When can we expect fixes for named items which are unupgradable in Kiln?
Yeah, a Madhouse, which is the fire staff that comes from Savage Divide. I think this is one that I hear a lot of people complaining about. You can't upgrade that for whatever reason, even though you should be able to.
They should be in our next patch, which is tentatively scheduled right around Halloween.
Oh,
so,
okay.
We're working on it.
It's like a week from now.
Any news on the next dev update?
Shortly after the next patch. We're not sure yet.
Beginning of November?
Early November.
Dev update videos are really big, by the way. We're definitely gonna watch that together. They talk a lot. The next dev update might have the roadmap for 2024, so we might get to learn like what's gonna happen in New World in the next year, potentially.
That's all the questions I got. You got any questions for yourselves? No, you're good.
What are you doing for your birthday?
I'm gonna take a nap.
Nice.
What are you doing for her birthday?
I'm gonna bake her a cake.
Perfect.
Good man.
What
Dave.
are you doing, Scott?
I'm working diligently.
He already texted me happy birthday.
Yes, that was the.
It's the peak of managers wishing you a happy birthday.
I didn't text it. I slacked it, but let's be truthful here. And I Facebooked it, by the way. So double.
Oh my God.
All right. I think we're kind of at the extent of this one. So with that, we will see you in a tournament. If you like what you saw, let us know on Twitter,
X,
oh snap,
TikTok, Facebook,
and here on YouTube,
Reddit, YouTube, any of those great places. We'd love to hear that you liked it. Otherwise, thanks a bunch, and we will see you very soon in a tournament.
And then they give us a little glimpse of the next video.
Everyone that's PvP intense is aware of is Ankh and the synergies that Ankh has with shirking heals. So.
Yeah, Ankh is it's that PvP amulet that it's not a PvP amulet. You get it from the PvP rewards track. It increases your incoming healing by 25%. It's very, very strong. It used to be 50%. Now it's only 25%. It's still really good. So it sounds like Ankh is maybe up for another nerf potentially. But yeah, they didn't say anything about the artifacts that come from the PvP rewards track or dark matter or stuff like that. So I don't know. If there's any questions that you guys thought should have been asked, like if you guys have any burning questions, let me know in the comments down below. It's probably not going to get seen by the devs, but I do try to collate and gather as much evidence. What's the word? I don't know what I'm looking for. We can just say evidence, yeah, so I could pass it over to the devs. But, we spend a lot of time streaming the game every day. Links to the stream in the description down below. I do try to interact with chat with you guys a lot to generally get an idea of what's going on. Not that, if Amazon ever asked for my opinion on something, I would say, like, this is what the YouTube comments are saying. This is what people in Twitch chat are saying. So, yeah. Either way, like I said, if we see quite a lot of questions coming up and it's something I can answer the question for, we'll make a YouTube video on it. So if you guys have any questions about New World that you think a YouTube video would help for, let me know and we'll make some sort of guide or build or anything like that. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and click the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.